Okay, we continue in Shmuel Aleph, Perak Yud Tes, Pasuk Yud Daled. David runs away from Shul when he sees that Shul has got a sword, spear in his hand, and he's ready to kill him again. He's able to escape beforehand. So he runs away, and Michal tells David, you have to escape, because Shul has sent agents to pick up David, to watch him. So, and to ensure that his escape is complete, she takes these truffim, if you recall, images in the figure of a person, and puts some goat skin around the top over there, covers him up. And now we'll continue now in Pasuk Yud Daled. Vayishlach Shul Malochim. Shul now sends a second group of messengers. Lokachas is David, to take David. Why did he take a second group? Because the first group's job was only to watch David, not that he goes anywhere. And he also was concerned if they would want to take David, David would go against them. And he was hoping that if David would go against the second group, then he'd be chayiv misa, he'd be culpable for the death penalty for not listening to the king, of going back to the king's palace. So anyway, they come, they knock on the door, and Michal says, "Vataymer chaylahu." They say, David's sick, and he's sleeping in bed over there. See, he's in bed, he's sick. Yud Tesvav. Vayishlach Shul es malachim liros es David lemor. So now they come back to Shul, obviously, and they say that she says she's sick. So Shul sends the agents back again, saying, "Halu also b'mita elayla hamiso." Bring him back to me on his bed. He can't get out of bed. Fine, bring him back to on his bed. And the purpose was to kill him. Okay. He wants to be able to see him. So again, the Malm explains, because if he isn't sick, let's see if he's really sick. If he's not sick, then he's chayiv misa, because he didn't listen to me. He feigned illness when he wasn't ill. And if he is sick, then I'm going to, trump up charges against him and say, and people are going to say, yeah, but if he really was a guilty guy, why didn't he run away? The answer is, well, he was too sick to run away. But either way, I'll figure a way to malign him in such a way that I'll be able to kill him. Pasuk Tes Zayin, Vayavo Malachim. The messengers come, and they say, okay, our orders are to take him as he is, in the bed. Vinei hatrofim elamita. And they see it's not David, rather it's the trofim in the bed. Ukfira izi marash yosav. And there's the goat skins around the head of that trofim. So the messengers come back and tell Shul what's going on. Pasuk Yud Zayin. Vayomer Shul el Michal. Shul says to Michal, Lama kacha rimi sini. Why did you cheat me this way? Why did you trick me this way? Vatishalchi es oivi vayimaleit. And you sent away my enemy, and he has escaped. And the Malbim explains, it's a double question, as it were. Number one, you must have sent him through the window, because I had my guards watching, but you sent through the other side. And that way, he has the ability to run away. Why'd you let him run away? And also, you've fooled me to the extent. So that's the idea of lama kocha. Why'd you do this? But the rimisani, by making the trick with the trofim, now you've given him time to really escape. And he's got a lot of distance between us and him. So what does she say? Vatomer Michal el Shul hu amar elai shalchini. He said to me, she lies for the purpose to save his life, obviously. He said, or to save her life, he said, you better send me. He threatened me. Lama misech, why should I kill you? In other words, he's the one who said to me that I have to help him with this ruse, or he would kill me. And the Malbim explains as well. He said, it wasn't me, he forced me to do this, to make all this trick, and that way he'll be able to run away. And if I don't do this, he'll find a time at the right time to kill me, and I was afraid to go against what he said. Now, Rashi presents this in a much more direct response and says, Rashi says, Atoma sartani biyad listi mechad. You gave me into the hands of a real robber. All right? Shalav charbo alai ad sheshlachtiv. He put his sword against me till I sent him away. In other words, what do you expect? You married me off to a hooligan. So in other words, that kind of takes the responsibility off of her. And she says, what could I do? Obviously, if you wanted to get him killed, right, then you must think he's a rotten guy. If he's a rotten guy, very, very good. Thank you very much. You married me off to a rotten guy. So guess what this rotten guy did? He threatened to kill me. So that way gets herself off her father's wrath. Okay, moving on. So again, another attempt at David's life, and he's able to escape. All right, now we come to a very interesting part of the story. Yud Ches. V'David barach v'yimaleit. David continues to run away, and v'yimaleit, he totally escapes. Through all these machinations, he's able to escape completely, and he's, it's not like he's escaping to his house and they know where he is. He's escaped completely. Laymor, and they related, Vayimaleit vayavo el Shmuel haramasa. He came to Shmuel. He ran all the way to Shmuel in the city of Ramah. Vayagid lo es kol asher lo Shul. He told him everything that Shul was doing to him. Remember, Shmuel was the one who anointed David. So now he's at his wit's end. He's been trying to handle this himself, but he can't. So he runs to Shul. Vayelech hu u'Shmuel. So he and Shmuel. Shmuel. He and David and Shmuel go. Vayeshvu bin Noyos. And they sit in the place called Noyos. Okay, what is Noyos? So let's first take a look. A number of things to look at over here. Start with Rashi. Rashi brings from the Targum, Bebeis Ufano. He goes to him in yeshiva. Going to yeshiva. So they learn Torah. Learning Torah is always a good thing. And we'll see, not today, next Shabbos morning, I've got a beautiful piece again from Rabbi Michalowicz that shows you the benefits of learning Torah. There's all kinds of amazing things that Torah is capable of doing, but I don't want to talk about it today. But to learn Torah, it's always a good protection. Torah is always a good thing to do. The Radak goes into a little bit more detail as to what kind of Torah they were learning. Interestingly enough, he tells even what they were doing. So, but let me give you another pshat first, and then we'll come back to that pshat. So the question is, like, where? First of all, where is this place Noyos? What kind of place is this? Well, is it in Ramah? Is it near Ramah? So Radak says, "V'haya makom hazeh hanikra Noyos." A place called Noyos. Be'ir hanikras Ramah, in the city that's called Ramah. So some say it was a neighborhood within Ramah. Or it's outside the city, it's called Ramah. Karav Lovavula, near, it's in the suburban area. Okay, and therefore it says he went. In other words, if it's outside the city, they went by Yelach over there. Now, what kind of place was this? As we'll see shortly, it was a place of Bnei Nevi'im, the children of Nevi'im. They were sitting and learning how to be Nevi'im. Shmuel was the prophet of all prophets, and he would teach people to be prophets. So it makes more sense to say it was a little bit outside of the local Ramah area, because to be a Navi, you need a lot of, to be away from all the distractions of life. So probably it's a little area outside of Ramah, secluded. And then he brings a Targum who says it was a yeshiva. And the rabbi said, Ma inyan Noyos eitzel Ramah. What does Noyos have to do with Ramah? El shahayoshvim barama they learn a little differently. It wasn't a different place, but they were in Ramah, but the place they went to was really the subject matter of what they were discussing. V'oskim benoyav shel olam. The word nayos from Nava, they were dealing with the decoration of the world. What's the decoration of the world? Nayos means decoration. They were sitting in learning about Nayos, and the decoration is what? Klomer Beis HaMikdash. They were learning about the Beis HaMikdash. Why? Klomer Beis Makom Yiyeh. Where will the Beis HaMikdash be? That's what they were studying. So of course you guys say, what are you talking about? It's in Yerushalayim. Anybody knows that? Well, not then, they didn't know. It's interesting, if you look at the entire Chumash, it talks many times, when you will go to Eretz Yisrael, you'll go to the place that I have chosen for you to serve me. It never once mentions the name of the city, or give you any idea of where it would be. It just says, it doesn't say Yerushalayim. So there was a whole, Hashem B'dafka didn't tell us where the most important city in the world is in Chumash. But it would be something that would have to be wait till Hashem will help you know what it is. And the Navi has to work on it, and Hashem has to help him understand that. And obviously, David is going to be the king, and he is the king, and he will have to have the capital one day. So they're working on this, which is very interesting. Question number one, why do they have to start learning about it now when David's life is in danger? And it seems that, this was because David had to be on the run, and he happens to go to Shmuel, so they say he happened to start learning it, which would seem to kind of symbolize that if David would not have to be running away, then they wouldn't be learning about these laws. So what's the connection of David's running away to the building of the Beis HaMikdash? What does that have to do with anything? Well, you could say at a simple level that maybe Shmuel wants to encourage David. David's concerned. Who knows what's going to happen? But if Shmuel is teaching him where he's going to build the Beis HaMikdash, then obviously he's not teaching it to him for nothing. And obviously he will survive all these difficulties, and there'll be a time where he'll be able to build the Beis HaMikdash. That could be one answer. Another answer could be, is if you know that where is the Beis HaMikdash? In whose tribal portion is the Beis HaMikdash? It's in the border. It's a border of Yehuda and Binyamin. So now that's very interesting. David comes from what tribe? Yehuda. Shaul comes from what tribe? Binyamin. Okay. So what's being symbolized over here is that there should have been, in the best scenario, what would have happened? In the best scenario, there would have been a unity. I mean, clearly there should have been a unity between these two tribes, and represented by David and Shaul. And now, especially since David is the son-in-law of Shaul, it would have been a much more understandable transition of power. Just step down and say, I was here, I had my job for a certain amount of time, and now Hashem has told me not to have the job, and therefore I'll give up my job. I transfer it to David, and they work together. Shaul will be the, king emeritus, and retired king, and David will be the active king. But now that Shmuel sees that there can be no reconciliation between David and Shaul, this is after Shaul promised Jonathan that he's not going to do anything, and you see he can't control himself. So now he has to look, if there can be no connection between the tribes through Shaul and David, they want to start looking at the geographic connection of where the Beis HaMikdash should be built, and that'll have to be the next stage of the connection. It will not be with Shaul as being the representative of Binyamin, but will be with the tribal portion of Binyamin. And that will become that representation that's there.
How did they get the decision to build the Beit HaMikdash? How did it come? From?
Well, you'll have to wait till Shmuel Beis. Shmuel Beis for Hashem to hold a discussion how to make that happen. But it's partly the Navi working on it, and partly Hashem telling them exactly where it is. Fine. So they're studying the laws of building the Beis HaMikdash. Okay. So now we continue. Pasuk Yates. So he's there in Nayos. Vayugad l'Shol Lamor, and they informed Shul, was told to Shul, Hine David ben Nayos b'Ramah. David is hiding in Nayos near Ramah. Pasuk Chav. Vayishlach Shul Malachim Lokaches es David. Shul sends messengers to get David. Vayar, they come. Vayar es lahakas hanevim nibim. They see a lahaka. Lahaka, the Malbim points out, if you look at the letters, the first three letters, lahak. If you switch around the letters, you have the word kahal. Just go backwards. Kahal. Kahal, a kahal. A kahal is a group of people together. A kahila. It's a group. So it's a group of Nevi'im. Now sometimes you have certain words where you have the same letters and they have the same meaning and the letters are mixed around. Malma says, let's say you have the word keves, you have the word keves, and kesev, same letters, but the letters are mixed around, but it means the same thing. And so he's, he doesn't explain why. We don't understand why, but you have the word kehilas. It's a group of Nevi'im, but they switch the letters around. I'm sure there must be some deep reasons, some mystical reasons behind those letters.
Keves and Kesev is the same thing.
Yeah. So but it's a group. It's a group. The whole group of Nevi'im were there. Okay, fine. Whole group are there, and Nibim, and they're prophesying. They're in the act of prophesying, and it would appear that David is in that group. Ushmul Omeid Nitzav Alehem, and Shmuel is standing. It's two expressions: Omeid Nitzav, standing upright before them. So the messengers come. They want to take David away, and guess what happens? Then all of a sudden, the spirit of Hashem comes over the agents of Shul, and they too are prophesying with them. They got into it. So we'll discuss this all in a minute. Well, I guess even now it's a good time to discuss it. So the Malbim has a bit of a lengthy discussion here, but very important discussion that I want to read a few bits of it to know what's going on over here. And he's dealing with the words Ushmul Omeid Nitzav Alehem. So there's a double expression over there, Omeid and Nitzav. So Omeid means, so like, what's in the two words, Omeid and Nitzav? So Malbim explains as follows. He says the difference between the word Omeid, to stand, and Nitzav, which also appears to mean stands, is Amida. Standing is the opposite of sitting, or the opposite of laying down, or the opposite of walking. In other words, it's your actual physical position. You say the word Omeid. Omeid means I'm standing as opposed to sitting, walking, sleeping. That's Omeid. But Nitzav, Hisyatzvus, Nitzav, is a standing that requires strength and effort to remain standing. Let's say, you're having an argument with somebody, you're fighting with somebody, you're wrestling with somebody, and the guy's trying to take you down, and you're still standing your ground. That's where we use the word nitzav. If you'll notice, when Yosef has his dreams, he talks about the bundles in his dreams, and it says the bundles go down, and he says, my bundle was nitzav, remain standing, which is symbolic of how the brothers would try to take him down, and he would not go down. Now, it doesn't have to only be when people are fighting with you, but it also can be applied to somebody who's in charge and is an overseer of others. He brings the pasuk in Rus, where he talks about the young man who's nitzav al hakochim, who's the foreman over the threshers. And so you're the boss, you're watching them, you got to make sure everybody's doing things correctly. So now, he's saying, so he was, number one, Shmuel was physically standing, yes, but also nitzav. So all these junior prophets, as it were, so when the spirit of prophecy comes over them, they just fall flat on their faces, because it's an incredible energy, and they're not able to physically withstand that, and their whole body parts begin to shake and tremor, etc., etc., and you lose control of your body. because the soul now is being taken over by Hashem, literally, and the body loses its ability to function in a way that you normally do. Everyone except Shmuel, that is, who was so much greater than all the other prophets in two ways. Number one, he was able to stand and didn't have to fall. And number two, he's standing over them, and here's the important part. He says, "Umashpia aleim shefa hanavua." He bestows upon them a stream of prophecy. He would be the root for where they would draw forth the prophecy. He's like the conduit between Hashem. The prophetic energy flows through him and it goes to them. Or he says, he's like the candle, the flame, from which he lights their souls with the godly light, with the godly fire. And this flow of spiritual energy that was complete in both ways, from the side of Shmuel, who was able to give it, who was standing with them, and also on the side of the receivers. You have this group of Nevi'im, so it's good on both ends. It's a very strong connection. He's nitzav aleihem, and he's drawing forth from there. And now comes the important line of the Malbim that we're going to elaborate on. He says, and thereby, what happened? How does this work? Hudlaku gama nitzotzos hatmunim b'nafshos malachei sho'ul isnabu gamhema. He was able to, by the same power, he was able to create an energy flow that was going into the prophets who were studying with him. He was also able to kindle the hidden sparks in the souls of Shul's agents, and they too were prophesizing. Now, Rambam says certainly on a smaller level than the other prophets, as it says, Vayisnabu. It's a hispol lashon over there, but to the point that they lost all sense of their mission with Shul. They don't go back to Shul and report anything. They're totally taken over by this prophecy. So that's what I want to elaborate on these words of the Malbim that says that their sparks, their hidden sparks, were rekindled. So I want to just go over something we did a number of years ago. I'm sure we can all use a little review, myself included, from the Chovas HaTalmidim, from the Piazetzner Rebbe. And I'm just going to read it from the English to save time. It's an out-of-print version of Chovas HaTalmidim, a student's obligation. There's a new printed version that's come out. That's a really good translation as well, and it wouldn't be a bad thing for people to learn it. And he's talking in one of his the essays after Chovas HaTalmidim, and one of the essays was how to study Hasidic texts, but that's not the point of this discussion here today. And I'll just read a bit. We'll learn a little. I'll just read it in English and to get some ideas. And very important to realize what's going on over here when we're talking about the idea of there's a group of Nevi'im over here. Okay. So he says like this. A Jew who purifies his body will inevitably awaken within himself ever more exalted thoughts and yearnings. These will lead to a desire to see beyond the obscuring screen of the physical body. So the more you work on yourself to purify yourself, the more you're going to look for more depth in your life. Earlier we referred to the Talmudic statement about the Jewish people in the Gemara Pesachim. Gemara Pesachim had a whole shiloh, I don't want to get into it. Jews weren't sure what to do. Erev Pesach was on Shabbos. All kinds of questions. Are we allowed to carry certain things on Shabbos? And it's a problem. It's Shabbos. It's also you have to bring a korban Pesach. It's all kinds of halacha complications. Just like every time we have Shabbos Erev Pesach, and since it doesn't happen that often, so the people there weren't sure what the halacha was. They went to Hillel, and Hillel said, "You know what?" Well, they asked, "What's your decision?" He said, "I don't know. This is what we're going to do." So he says, Yisrael, if they're not prophets, they're at least b'nei Nevi'im, at least the children of prophets. Let's just see what all the Jews do on that Shabbos. Whatever they do, that's probably what they're supposed to do. And then they saw what they did, how exactly the animals were processed. And that's the halacha. They all did it together, the same thing. That was their tradition. So that if they're not prophets, they're children of prophets. Now, what does it mean? What does this idea mean? All the Jewish people, if they're not prophets, they're children of prophets. It means me and you are also children of prophets. It's calling us all children of prophets. We're all b'nei nevim. We're all children of prophets. What does it mean we're a child of prophets? He says the statement cannot mean merely that Jews are descendants of prophets. Yeah, we could say our great-great-grandparents were prophets. He says, with the fact that many generations ago a person's ancestor was a prophet, would that guarantee that this person would retain a degree of prophecy that would enable him to intuit a law that the great sage Hillel did not know? It doesn't seem to be a factor for a great-grandparent. It doesn't literally mean children of prophets. And he's going to discuss this in many contexts. A lot of times you have the word b'nei something, son of something. It doesn't mean an actual son. Hillel was so certain of the prophetic nature of the Jewish people that he did not even begin to discuss or dispute the issue in question. He said confidently, leave it up to Israel. They'll independently fulfill the law in the proper fashion. So what's going on? It says we see in scriptural passages that minor prophets whose names did not become well known were called b'nei nevim, are also called children of prophets. And he brings you a pasuk in Malachim to show that. And the Targum explains children of prophets, b'nei nevim, as students of the prophets. Student, I'm studying to be a prophet. That's how the Targum explains it over there. However, this does not mean that they were merely students. They received prophecy at times, as the text itself applies when it continues, and a certain man of the children of the prophet said to his neighbor in the word of the Lord, strike me, I pray thee. The meaning of the words children of prophets, the reason Scripture did not simply write students of the prophets, I mean really, it should have said in Malachim, if the Targum explains b'nei nevim as students of prophets, really students of prophets is the best words to write. If that's what they were, why didn't the Navi write it? The Navi just writes their b'nei nevim. It's perhaps similar to the meaning of the expression. He says, what does it mean? So let's give another expression. We say if somebody calls somebody a ben Torah. A ben Torah. What does it mean to call somebody a ben Torah? A guy who learns in yeshiva. And a compliment we can give a guy. Say if you're looking for shidduchim for a boy, you say, what kind of boy? He says, he's a ben Torah. He's a ben Torah. That's a good thing to say. So what does that mean? He says, which is used to describe a person who has a small amount of ability to learn Torah, whereas a real scholar is called a lamdin, a learned person, right? So what do they call him? The son of Torah. What do you mean he's called the son of Torah? So he says the modifier child of. So we have b'nei nevim, children of nevim, ben Torah, a child of Torah. What's this ben? Child of. Teaches us something about the essence of the person. As in the expression, there's another one. It says, Kol hashayna halachas b'chol yom muftach lo shehu ben olam haba. Someone who learns halachas every day, you can be sure that he is a ben olam haba. How do you translate those words? Ben olam haba. A child of the world to come. Now, the meaning of that phrase is certainly not that his father is the world to come and he is his son. So you have three expressions, b'nei nevim, ben Torah, and ben olam haba. So what does that mean? So it doesn't mean his father is the world to come, but it does tell us something about the essence of the person himself, namely that he himself is a child of the world to come. The same is true in regard to the expression child of Torah, which is used to describe people who are able to learn scripture and perhaps a bit of Talmud. The expression is not only one of delimitation, but it also tells us something positive about the person's essence. It doesn't act like a crude and ignorant person. In other words, what Ben Torah means is, what does this guy relate to? What frequency is he on? That's what it means. In other words, what's this guy into? We have to describe, the guy, what is his aspirations, what's his focus, what is he always relating with? So you say he's a ben Torah as opposed to an Amoretz, a crude, ignorant person. The expression Amoretz also implies more than just a lack of Torah knowledge. You go, this guy, he's an Amoretz. Bunch of Amoratzim over there. Doesn't mean the guy just don't know Torah. It refers to a pattern of crudity in behavior, as the Talmud explains. Talmud asks, who is an Am Haaretz? So it says the Talmud goes on to define the Am Haaretz not only as ignorant, but also according to his actions, he does not put on tefillin, does not raise his sons to learn Torah, and so on. That's an Am Haaretz. Even though the most important part of the definition is that he's lacking in Torah knowledge. Am Haaretz literally means he is an ignorant person. And that's the most important part of the definition. Since this quality has a deleterious effect on all his acts, on his very self, the name says something about his essence as well. So Ben talks about the person's essence. So if he's a Ben Torah, his essence is Torah. Whereas he's always looking for a chance to learn some Torah. Everything he does is based on what the Torah says. He relates to Torah. Yeah, well, you have, let's say, a secular Jew who mocks Torah. What's this religious mishigas? I mean, that person's an Amoritz. An Amoritz means he relates to the earth. It literally means the nation of the earth. You can say he's totally into the physical. If you want to say if a person's into the physical or into the spiritual, you could either call him an Amoritz or a Ben Torah. Ben Torah means he's into the spiritual stuff. Why? Because that's what Torah is. He's into what Torah says. He wants to know what Hashem says. He tries to lead his life as best as possible. He might do avers, he might make mistakes, but then he'll do tshuva. And that's a Ben Torah. Similarly, the children of Torah, even those who have not studied and do not know such a great quantity of Torah, but since the Torah that they do know has begun to affect them and their behavior in a way that distinguishes them from other groups within the nation, so that they do act according to the Torah, they have been given a name that refers to their whole person and distinguishes them from others. A scholar, a lamdan on the other hand, is not so different in his behavior or his bearing from other B'nai Torah. It's just the additional Torah knowledge he possesses is not so apparent because the other children of Torah behave in a manner similar to his. In other words, a lamdan and a ben Torah are similar in many ways. They both want to follow what it says in the Torah. His name, therefore, refers to his distinctive characteristic, which is his superior level of scholarship, which separates him from other children of Torah. This is a lamdan and a ben Torah. A ben Torah is a guy going to yeshiva, he's learning. A scholar, he ain't a scholar. A lamdan is a ben Torah plus. Plus, he has a real lot of Torah knowledge. Now, let's get back to our topic here with the Nevi'im. We're just trying to give you this. So now, what does a ben olam haba mean? How do you explain a ben olam haba?
Somebody who earned the right to be an olam.
More than that, it's a guy who lives with the reality that there's an olam haba. He lives with the focus. When we say this guy who says Ashrei 3 times a day, he's a ben olam haba. A lot of times, who's a ben olam haba? Doesn't mean to say he's going into olam haba right now. It means he lives, well, it could also, but he lives with the reality that there is an olam haba. He lives, he has the das that the Mesillas Yesharim talks about, of understanding that this whole world is just a what do you call it, a courtyard to get you to the main thing. A ben olam haba means he knows he's just traveling through. He's not a ben olam hazeh. Most people, unfortunately, are ben olam hazeh. They live for this world and that's it. Ben olam haba means I live in this world knowing that I really should be living in the world to come. And as we learn in many svarim, that it's possible to feel that way even in this world. He lives as if he is in olam haba. That's his feeling. So therefore, the disciples of the prophets, before they had reached a high level of prophecy, were called B'nai Nevi'im. Same idea. That's their goals, that's their aspirations, but more than that. This title expressed a quality that they themselves possessed. For they already contained within themselves a little prophetic power. In their whole being and behavior, they're already distinct from the rest of the Jewish people because of the essential quality of prophecy and because of their behavior. A person who was a great prophet received the title prophet through the greatness of his prophecy, just as the great scholar received the name Lamdan through the greatness of his scholarship. So the analogy would be a Lamdan is to a Ben Torah as a Navi is to B'nai Nevi'im. Okay? When Hillel wished to say that the people of Israel would, when the time came for action and the proper hour for bringing the sacrifice arrived, expressed by their behavior, their inner knowledge of the right law, that's what he's saying. He said they are children of prophets. Hillel himself, with all the knowledge he possessed, did not know the law. The people themselves would not have known it if they had asked them, if you had asked them the day before the festival, they wouldn't know the law. The name children of prophets, which Hillel called them, expressed the fact that a spirit of prophecy is present in their essence and in their actions. When the time of act comes, the spirit of prophecy would inform their actions. There's some kind of essence within the Jew of this prophecy that's within them. So I'll skip a paragraph over here because it's not germane. Well, it is, but not for what we need to know. We are not trying to imply in the preceding paragraphs that the children of prophets who lived during the prophetic period are to be equated with the multitudes of Israel that were called children of prophets of Hillel. Don't make a mistake and think that the people at Hillel we're talking about, which was hundreds and hundreds of years after the end of the era of the prophets, they're not the same to be understood as B'nai Nevi'im as we have in the Navi. Nor are we claiming that our generation today, says the PSS and Rebbe, that still Chazal applies today, we're still called B'nai Nevi'im. Each one of us is called B'nai Nevi'im. Don't think the title today we have is to equal the generation that lived at the time of Hillel. For the generations descend spiritually, each lower than the one before. And because of our sins, we now have no great prophets, and even the Holy Spirit has ceased. There are no prophets and no seers. Even this quality that we call children of prophets, which is the essence of the life, energy, and holiness of Israel, has diminished to an astounding degree. Yet we can still say this, till today, the essence of the people of Israel, the energy from which Israel draws life, is prophecy. This is true even now, though this essence may have dwindled and diminished and remains present only in a small quantity. Just as a certain quality of life force separates animals from plants, and the capacities of reason and speech are what differentiate human beings from animals, it is the prophetic essence that distinguishes Israel from the rest of humanity. Okay, what makes a Jew different than a non-Jew? It's because we have the essence of prophecy is within us. This quality, which is alluded to in the expression children of prophets, is the source of all the good thoughts of a Jew, all of his beneficent desires, longing, and ideas, as well as the fiery enthusiasm that he feels as a result of these thoughts or ideas. Even when a Jew has a simple and momentary realization of the need to do tshuva, a flicker of awareness, it is this prophetic quality which is the source. There's something deep down. It can be covered by many, many layers. He's saying a very incredible idea, that every Jew has within himself the potential to be a prophet. Although we're not going to see prophets today because we don't have the ability to reveal the full potential that lies within us right now. We'll have to wait till Mashiach comes for that. But there's still a core that a little bit, something, epis, is able to come out, a little tremor of the root of prophecy that will enable us to do things that are beyond what a person who lives and relates to this world as this worldly person would relate. It was not only the predictions of the great and holy prophets that were prophetic. Their many words of guidance and of ethical teaching were the word of God as well. They heard his glorious voice and transmitted his word and guided Israel with his teachings. Their prophecy was great. They heard God's voice and perceived prophetic visions in a way that is beyond their conception. Because this power has diminished, Jews today, who are the children and the remnants of prophets, remain unaware when they feel the stirrings of goodness within themselves, that these stirrings are a spark of prophecy. And yet, as everyone knows, the Baal Shem Tov said that the heavenly voice from Mount Sinai mentioned in the Mishnah, that there always a baskol, Habasko emanates from Har Chorev. It says, awakens in every Jewish heart momentary thoughts of tshuva. This thought is a spark of the heavenly voice, even though it seems to each individual as it arose independently within him. It says, I don't know, I just this feeling of tshuva just came over me. No, this feeling of tshuva just doesn't come over you. It came from the root that's deep down within the Jew, to want to come back to Hashem, to see things with a great clarity. That's what was Nevuah, as we learned in Derech Hashem. It's Hashem gives the Navi clarity as to really what's reality and what's not reality. His vision changes. He doesn't look at this room as a room with tables and chairs. He looks at all the spiritual energy that's behind that. So he's looking at the depth of reality. So a person to look what's deep inside himself. Even just that deepest desire to come back to Hashem. That's a touch of that from that source of prophecy. But what was true for the holy prophets of previous years is still true today. Not all the prophets are equivalent in their level of prophecy. The prophetic spirit would rest upon a prophet according to the degree to which that prophet sanctified and prepared himself for prophecy. The same is true. This is the whole part that I wanted to get to. So how does this relate to us today? The same is true in regard to the essence expressed by the phrase children of prophets, which is to be found in all of Israel. All are not equal in this quality. In a person who has thickened his body into a state of materiality, who has stupefied his soul and buried it beneath earth and in clay mounds of worthless bodily form, only a minute quantity of the spirit of prophecy will be found. At times, even that will not be heard or sensed at all, God forbid. On the other hand, if a person purifies his body and grasps the visible threads of his soul in order to draw it out, more and more, the spirit expressed in the phrase children of prophets will be present within him to a greater and greater degree. This is why we said to you that if you have been practicing as well as just reading all that has been discussed so far in this book, we are certain with a certainty founded in the trust in Hashem that from within you wings will emerge that will bring you higher and higher to pure thoughts and pure desires. This will awaken within you yearnings and ideas that will cause you on your own to seek out the word of Hashem in the writings of our Holy Master. May their merit shield us from evil. That is why we must give you some instruction how to reflect upon, understand at least a little bit their holy words. We have already mentioned that the term children of the prophets is translated in the Targum into Arabic as disciples of the prophets, because they were in need of instruction to help them to know and understand the Spirit of God that beat inside them, since it was manifested but in small quantity. We in our generation, so diminished in spiritual understanding, can we even compare ourselves to them? We have to read more, but this is what the Malbim says in that one line. He kindled the spark that was hidden inside their souls. And that's really what Chassidus is all about. Chassidus is trying to just bring out that which is within the person. It's an avoda that is able to get us to move away from looking at the physical world and to understand the deeper spirit of prophecy that exists in each and every one of us. And that, you see, what happened with the messengers of Shul. Okay, we'll continue that and finish up the parak tomorrow and move on.